Hey there, just a quick reminder, we have a mentorship program if you're looking for personalized coaching and mentorship to help guide you to the next level of your interior design business, whatever that might look like for you, whether it's processes and procedures or what services to offer to how to incorporate wellness, intention, or spirituality into your projects. Come join us over at designcoven.com/join. Or if you're just in search to connect with other like-minded interior designers, you can join our free community, also located at designcoven.com/join. You're listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. This is a podcast that guides you as a new or inspiring independent interior designer navigating your entrepreneurial path. Here, with my over 20 years experience, I will share my holistic approach to design with intention and ancient practices, including feng shui, all incorporating mind, body, and spirit into my design projects. You will also learn from seasoned interior designers as they give strategies and insight of how they built their businesses and continue to work in the field. Together, we will discover supportive trade partners, new ideas, creatives, and inspiring artists from around the world. I am your host, Rachel Lorraine Crawford. Hello, welcome back to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. Today, I have Sonya Sparks of Sparks Gallery on with us, which I'm super excited about because we've got an event coming up here in October where we get to meet a local artist, Stefanie Bales. And I wanted to share with everybody here in San Diego, and not just in San Diego, but everywhere, that we have access to this beautiful gallery. And if you are here in Southern California, definitely check it out. So welcome, Sonya.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Of course. I am going to set our space, just anchoring us in, centering us in by lighting a candle, connecting with that fire element of creativity, connection, communication, and just being present with you. And I have crystal cards with me today. So I'm pulling from the Radiant Crystal card deck from Bouchette Design. And let's just see what we've got. I'm going to mix them up. Moldavite. Oh my goodness. Are you familiar with Moldavite?
I am not.
No. So it's a crystal that basically came from space. So people usually have some sort of a reaction when they see it. They say it has a really high vibration and, it's very high energy. It is green, so it's connected to the heart, which is really beautiful. The affirmation is, my consciousness expands when I'm aware and present. It's about clarity, awareness, and renewal. It's like one of those crystals that people have like a huge reaction where they're like crazy in love with it, or they're like, oh, I don't know, like I'm kind of freaked out because it's extraterrestrial and I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, we don't show that very often, but so I forget the name. But yeah, there's a lot of people who have a reaction to that.
Yeah,
but there's meteorites too.
Oh yeah,
it's a little bit
for
different.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really interesting just to see how people people don't want to touch that stuff, or they're totally into it. So yeah,
it's too much fun. Maybe.
Yeah. So Sonya, we met a long time ago at some of your openings. I love going to your events. I'm so happy that you have created what you've created here in San Diego. I know all of the artists are so grateful to have you here. I always begin with home. What's home for you? What does that mean?
Home. So home for me is a place where you can be truly yourself, have warmth and comfort, and balance yourself and take care of yourself and your family, and to hold memories and continue traditions.
Yes, I love all of that. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And Sparks Gallery is kind of another home for you as well, I'm sure. How did you get into the world of art? How did all of this happen?
Well, my background is in international business, and I did study art in conjunction at the University of San Diego.
Okay.
And I worked in the corporate world for many years, but I began to have some health issues and the physical strain that comes with the cubicle life.
Mm,
And I sat down to lunch with my mother one day, and I expressed that I wanted to change. And she asked me, "Well, if you could do anything, what would you do?"
yeah.
And I flippantly at the time just replied, "I don't know, maybe start an art gallery." And she said, "Well, why not?" And that was really my aha
Oh my
moment
gosh.
that led me down the path to make it a reality and become a small business owner.
Oh my God. And how long ago was that?
That was over 10 years ago.
Amazing. I love hearing stories of just how people become entrepreneurs or like where they've come from. And then what was that pivotal moment? And what amazing gift your mom gave you just by asking that one simple question. That's huge.
Yes.
So, what was that process like?
So, having studied art at a few different universities
Uh huh.
locally, I had a lot of connections. I knew a lot of artists. I received a minor in art, so I had sampled a lot of the different types of art, so I know the techniques and the backgrounds.
Mm,
Having just building those community, like the connections within the community, and knowing the artists personally that were really in the community, and the educators who were teaching, and hearing those struggles for the local
mm,
educators not having like a space or places to really showcase their work. So that was really the drive for me, was to find an outlet for the local community to easily engage with all of these really talented people who were not being seen, who would have their degree in art and then just be launched into the world, and then
mm.
they weren't sure what to do with their work at that point. They really had to struggle to find local representation, local exhibition space. So um, there's so many things that people can do to show art. People get really creative with where they
Yeah.
show art. They do in their garages, and they work together in collectives, and they have proposals that they send around. So having another place that was community oriented, that was
Mm,
a bit more refined and just purposeful. This is a space particularly for local artists.
yeah. And you're here in San Diego. Have you always been in San Diego?
Yes, I was not born in San Diego, but I moved here when I was 4, so I
Oh, me
am
too.
almost a native. And my husband as well moved when he was very young here, so we almost feel like we're true natives, although true
Yeah.
natives would not
No.
say that. But my grandparents lived here, my mother lived here, so we're, you know, pretty solidly San Diego based. We
Yes.
know the community really well. We grew up in local community schools. We just really know the city really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I came here when I was 4 as well, and my husband was born here, so he's always like, "Well, you're not really." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, I grew up here."
Exactly. Yeah. The
So
true
funny.
native
Yeah,
born San Diegans. Yes.
yeah, it's so funny. Amazing, and what made you really wanna spotlight local artists? Like, what was that thing for you, and where did that heart come from?
Yeah. So it was really that lack of the, you know, presence for local
Mm,
artists here, because there are not that many spaces. We're not
yeah,
a gigantic city. We're not well known as an art city. And in the early 2000s, there really was nothing. And now,
nothing.
even after the pandemic, I mean, there's a
Yeah,
sprinkling of them, and now there was more, and then post pandemic, again, just a sprinkling.
yep.
So we're really in tune with each other as galleries here in the local region, because we're all doing something a little bit different, but
Mhm.
we support each other because we know how difficult it is to
Yeah,
maintain that storefront and that presence.
absolutely. So can you share a little bit about the building that you're in, your location? Because it's a really beautiful building, and I know you built it out and transformed it completely. And I'd love to, and as designers, I'm sure we would love to hear the story of how the building came to be because it's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, so the building is on 6th Avenue, in between Island and Market Streets, downtown San Diego, in the Gaslamp Quarter. We're on the edge of the Gaslamp before East Village, on the opposite side of our street. I'm there right now. And the building is a historic building designated as a contributing historic landmark within the Gaslamp Quarter when they designated it in the 1980s. And they were really cleaning up the city at the time, seeing a lot of development that they didn't want happening. And they said, let's designate this particular area as historic because we don't want things to get too new down here. We want to preserve that old, like really historic, beautiful architecture that people were just kind of like neglecting and tearing down at that time. So there was a big initiative to clean up and preserve those buildings and designate them historic so that you would have to go through a process to adjust anything with the building, with the city, the historical board with the city. So when we restored the building, we were aware of all this because we were from, San Diego. We saw different, like our generations have seen different versions of downtown ebb and flow in terms of like safety and affluence in different parts of the neighborhood and building structures and things like that. So it wasn't all of that great when we came down here, when we started looking at the buildings. So the building itself was in disrepair.
Okay.
And it had been many things before that, most recently a law firm. And I think it was interesting. We were redoing the floors and we saw these real geometric designs, like very typical of the 80s, where there's these angular,
how funny,
like balconies were so like crystal shapes, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see that. And they were really interested in this raw texture. They exposed the red brick walls by sandblasting all of the plaster off of them in the 80s to get that like textural feel. So we did leave it that way because it was just so much brick that we didn't really want to recover it up. I mean, people really love the brick.
Yeah, they do.
But it was hard on the brick, so we meticulously restored all of the repointed all the mortar joints and all of the bricks. Our contractor, who is my brother, repointed them all by hand, and it took him 3 months to go through the whole space and repoint them with a stronger grout material. So I'm just refreshing my memory of the space by looking around. But there's so many things within the space that tell the story. Like there's a doorway that used to be near one side that they covered up in brick. And the unique characteristics of the building are that they share the outer walls of the exterior buildings are actually our interior walls. So they just, there's two buildings and they just stuck a roof in between the two buildings, and that's our building basically.
That's amazing.
So we co-own half the wall basically of the others, two other buildings next to us.
Yeah. And then what about the loft space? Did you build that as well, or was that some of it existing, or how did that come to be?
So we worked with Hannah Gabriel Wells Architecture to design the concept for the space, and then we had all the various trades do updates to the space based on primarily seismic retrofitting.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of steel beams here that have particular crush points for in the event of an earthquake. So we actually had a seismic shear wall on the back of the patio that we decided we wanted to put it externally to keep that interior really sort of homogeneous and not have this giant concrete wall on the inside of the building. So we put the concrete wall on the exterior, and then we decided to embellish it with a mural by a local artist. So it served kind of as a decorative focal point. It's also very purposeful, has a shear line carved in it so that in an earthquake that it's like a backbone that holds up the space. So really kind of thinking about these elements of how do we keep this historic space beautiful while still making this a safe space in terms of what the city wants. And we also had some unique designs for our fire and electrical rooms. We pulled those elements inside the building and then encased them in sort of small little rooms. So traditionally, the vintage style wouldn't have that, and you would have to put these giant pipes on the outside of the building on the sidewalk. So we decided to pull them inside the building, encase them, and have it be like an additional sort of little room to put something on top, like decorate or
cool.
whatever we wanted to do.
Amazing. And with all that brick, how are you able to hang all the art? I'm just curious about the logistics of all that. Is that something that you had to really think about, or what does that entail?
It was, yeah, and my husband is a mechanical engineer, so we didn't really struggle with the design elements that had a lot of, but we did have to think about exactly how we were going to do things. And even today, when we're doing installations in the space, we do have to get really creative with ways to attach things to the building, because it is brick and steel for the most part. So we have a track system that we just installed on the ceiling joists, and we'll hook a hook on, and then the pieces would hang on the brick areas. And we designed a set of free hanging walls for the lower level.
Wow. Well, that's nice that your husband is in that realm to kind of be the the head on, because I can't imagine. I'm sure that would be like something huge hurdle for somebody to try to undertake.
It's definitely, it takes a specific mind to come up with solutions for a building that doesn't just have white walls in it.
Yeah. And when our group comes and takes a look at the gallery, I would love to just share, they'll be listening to this, and then for them to just take a look at this, because this is stuff that, we come across as designers, and we're working with older homes or buildings and trying to come up with these solutions. And I think a lot of that too is just knowing your resources and who you can rely on and count on. And it sounds like you have a really tight group of people that are in the know. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and definitely. And we also know local installers who are really good at that as well. If we're sending art to a collector's home and they have kind of a situation where they're not sure, they wouldn't want to do it themselves, we do refer people to installers who can do that, if it's not something that we ourselves would have the ability to go do.
Got it. Amazing. How many exhibits or shows are you doing in a year, and how do you select who's going to be featured?
So in terms of how many artists we have per year, we will select a group of artists a couple of years in advance, and then we will work with them to create the vision that they want for the solo show. And I think it's usually about probably like 5 artists at this point. Although I'm thinking of restructuring how many we're doing, because it is very back to back. And I want to really focus a little bit more deeply on some of the artists and those selection. And we've shown for quite some time. So we celebrated our 8-year anniversary recently.
Oh my gosh, congrats.
So it's been a lot of time. Yeah, thank you. So we've had quite a few artists in our solo exhibitions. And we've actually worked with over 400 local artists throughout group shows and exhibitions and guest exhibitions and things like that over the past 10 years.
It's a huge accomplishment. Oh, wow. I didn't realize how many artists you were really connected with and showcasing. That's really incredible.
Yeah, these are all professional artists, and there are so many other artists out there who are working and just getting prepared for presenting their work in spaces like ours. So artists are graduating from programs all the time. So we're seeing just so many artists move through that we wish we could show more of. But we've shown over 400 at this point.
Yeah, that's insane. So how are you selecting the artists? Are you seeking them? Are they coming to you at this point? What's that process like?
Yeah, so I'm always looking through the community to, I guess, discover artists, for lack of a better word. There are a lot of artists who will propose work to us, and then occasionally I'll be able to glance through and see that this is a new artist that I may want to meet with. But for the most part, we are not accepting new artists right now. Yeah. So I do have a program where I have a portfolio review that I set up with artists so that I can give them kind of a real rundown on their foundation work, what they need to prepare for, to, if they weren't working with me, which is typical at this point, to facilitate their artistic practice their careers and get them into other spaces potentially. So kind of just preparing them. So I have different stages that I'll go through with each person. So if they aren't really sure about their artist statement, then I set a follow-up appointment with them, and then I can work with them to work on their artist statement and prepare them for other exhibitions.
And is that something that you charge as like a consulting fee, or what does that look like?
Yes, that is something that I charge for. It's a meeting one-on-one with the artist in their studio or in the gallery, and then I go over all of their foundations through the platforms that they have set up. I'm getting really great feedback from that. I don't really know anyone who's doing that right now.
No, I haven't heard
locally.
of it.
So yeah, everyone's been really happy to get that dialogue, that feedback from someone who's working locally in the community. And I also have the curatorial consultations that I do with clients on the other hand. So artists, I will have a paid consultation with them. And then I can also go into the home of the collector and then do a curatorial consultation to look at their space and either digitally curate what they're working on or just kind of verbally work on it with them and see where they feel like they need work on to fill in gaps or just to visually arrange their work.
Wow, that's amazing. And how did this come about? Is this something that you saw a need in the market space, or just for artists like needing guidance?
Yes, there's definitely a need for artists. As when I was an artist, when I was younger studying, this service was not available. So it's a personal passion project for me to just give that service to other artists.
When did this come about? I'm sorry, I had no idea that you were doing this. I think it's so wonderful, and I just love everything about it.
Yeah, it's fairly new, but I've been doing it already, and I just I really wanted to carve out time and sit down with people, because people would come and say, "Oh, what should I do?" And I would give them some tips. But now I can sit down and really do one-on-ones with each person.
Oh, very cool. And are you accepting artists for that service, or are you pretty booked?
Yes, I am. We could provide the link for the show notes if you'd like. You can also find it on our website, sparksgallery.com. And you can also email me directly, Sonya, SONYA, @sparksgallery.com. The point of providing the service and everything is really because we wanted to become a nexus for these creative conversations in the local community. We also are an event venue. We offer art workshops, seminars, where we do private events and artist talks. So that was really part of my mission statement, was to create this community, this openness, this easy way to come in and get really what you're looking for. So there's not any kind of gatekeeping or filtering questions. It's really just come and join us. We are this community here. We want to share this information with artists. We want to have this dialogue that's very easy for collectors to come in and just know who the artists are and what they're doing, and learn about them, take a little piece of their life experience with them when they purchase a work, so they get this real deep involvement with the artist and the art, and it becomes more of an experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know people are just dying for experiences, and I've just also noticed from my personal clients, when they get to meet the artist, it's just something that happens that's really magical, and they fall in love, and there's story behind the art and meaning, and so that's really cool. Can you share a bit about maybe Stefanie, the artist that we're going to be meeting at your gallery, and how maybe you guys got connected and how she got selected? And she's also going to, we'll have her on the podcast as well and get her story, but I'd love to just learn more about how you guys connected.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to Stefanie Bales' solo exhibition in October, which runs through the end of this year. And her work is a great example of bringing forward what she describes as universal truths and shared experiences of beauty in the natural world. These really amazing sunsets, layered beach scenes, and her palette is full of pastels. It's very feminine and airy. Yeah, and when we're talking about just to back up for just a second.
Yeah.
When we're talking about design and how we're working with clients, I think it's really interesting. And when I talk to artists about this, I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting to know what the energy is of the collector and where throughout the day they're going to be moving through spaces in their home. And they
Mm-hmm.
may want something different for each space, right? So maybe they wake up and they want to be energized and they want something vibrant and exciting. And maybe as they move through different spaces within the home or the office, they want something that is a little bit soothing. They're, partway through the day, they want soothing. So we think about that when we are selecting artists as well for the solo exhibitions, is where within these spaces are they fitting, and are we providing a big arrangement of these types of energies with these different pieces of artwork. So hers is that more soothing but vibrant work at the same time. I've known Stefanie for a long time. She is amazing. She has
She's
so
great.
many things I'm sure we'll talk to you about. And I see her everywhere. So she's just always out in the world and doing beautiful things and just really infusing, like, her energy is another thing that I connect with when I'm selecting work from artists. So when I sense the energy of the artist is going to be infused in their work, and I think that's a perfect match for my collectors or my clients, that's one of the criteria for me.
Amazing. Yeah, I love it. I'm in the middle of designing the new space for Bivouac in North Park, and we're going to have Stefanie do a beautiful sort of sunset ombre in one of the spaces. So yeah, she's definitely talented.
She's very versatile too.
Yeah. I cannot wait for her solo show. I'm so excited. And you always send out the postcard at the beginning of the year where it's kind of like coming into the new year, sharing all the artists, which I think is so cool, because then it's like we get a glimpse of what's to come throughout the year. And when I got to see her name on there, I was just like, oh my goodness, there's so many things to look forward to as we come into the year and connecting with you and the artists that you have to share.
Yeah. If you're watching the video behind me, we have a solo exhibition up right now that's featuring the work of Annalise Neal. And she creates these gorgeous cyanotypes. I wanted to share this because not everybody knows what cyanotype is. So it's when you make a template of some sort and then you place it on paper that turns blue in sunlight. So it's kind of like the overhead projector plastic that you print on, and you create a negative, and then you just put that on top of the paper and you place it in sun, and then it has the reverse part. So the part that you've covered is white, and then the part that's fully exposed to sun is blue. So then she will paint on top of that work and add local materials, and she even colors the work. It's called toning with locally sourced materials. So she takes these pods that she finds in her backyard, she grinds them up and makes a pigment, and then we'll use that as a wash to create these brown tones within her work. So I wanted to share that because there's a lot of craft and skill that goes into certain types of art that we do share when people come in and they want to know about the art as well. And her deep philosophical inspiration is also infused into her work. So it's not just these kind of pretty shells and plant life. It's really, she's really thinking about something way deeper, like the interconnected, parts of the universe, and the human is its own mini universe with all of these interconnected pieces. And it's really interesting.
So cool. Yeah, and so is her work just throughout the entire space? Is it a solo show?
It's on the lower level right now.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to come in and take a look at it. I haven't been in a little while, so I definitely need to check it out before it's gone. Yeah, it's stunning, the colors. And so that's another thing too, is you're showcasing artists that do stuff in different medium. It's not just paint, right? They have their sculpture. Correct. And very cool.
Correct. Yeah.
And then what's the process like when you're working with a designer? What does that look like? What do you require? How does all of that work out?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, we're a showroom. We rotate work often, so everyone's welcome to come in and see. We're open to the public. We serve collectors, clients, designers, event coordinators. Yeah, I spoke a bit about my curatorial vision. So it does often center around those universal truths, which is why I really connected with Stefanie Bales' work.
Yeah.
But the shared wonder of the human experience is really what we're celebrating here. We also will think about what the client's resonating with, our target market.
Yeah.
We're very in touch with that. And then we curate to a few specific categories. Right now, I've called them vibrancy seekers, dreamers, country home, mid-century modern inspired, and social commentary. So designers will have a variety of work to select from us, which is all publicly accessible.
Got it.
When I select work, I also look for a narrative along with beautiful inspirational design. So there's a depth and quality to the work instead of just it's a colorful placeholder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we've worked with like many different sizes of firms.
Okay.
Last year we worked with a large firm, for example, to place 2 artworks into the Louis Vuitton store in Fashion Valley.
Oh, nice.
We also facilitate commission work to do like a custom area. So if someone has this giant wall, we can facilitate that with the artist to just create something for that project. And we have a art loan program for designers for photo shoots and staging. So
cool.
We do pricing based on like the size of the work. So if it's a small work or a large work, it's just a different price for a 24-hour rental. And we secure rights with artists ahead of time for the designers to use their work in photos for promotion or marketing and social.
That is amazing. And I think that's huge for especially the up and coming designers that are trying to create a portfolio. Being able to have some beautiful original pieces of art in their work versus, going to a West Elm or whatever and getting something off their shelf. That's amazing.
Yeah, you can really tell the difference.
Yeah, for sure. And then when somebody, let's say a designer has a project that they're wanting to source some original art, would they just bring in photos and maybe some dimensions? And do you guys like superimpose art onto those photos, or can they check out art to bring to the client, or do you bring art out, or is that just, or is it Photoshop? Like, what is that?
Yeah, we're pretty flexible. So whatever stage they're at, if they have questions about is this going to fit, would this look good with the tones in the space, we can definitely put it into a Photoshop picture of the space and see if that makes sense before we go create like a custom print or something. We can say, okay, it's got to be this length because we can see that would be the right fit for this particular space by the dimensions we have within that mock-up. But a lot of people just come in and they say, I'd like to have this specific type of work, and I go, okay, we have all these options, and which one would you like? Basically, we can deliver and install the artwork on the site if needed. We don't have to, but it's just, we can. And we have an art loan agreement that covers the details of the loan that we would provide to the designers the time that they wanted to rent anything.
Got it.
And we would offer also we do a trade discount for purchases.
Okay, amazing. And then can we speak a little bit about etiquette, like with designers, so that they know how to work, what not to do? We have so many designers that are new, so I want to kind of just put out there, like, this is how you work with a gallery, this is how you interact with an artist. What are those parameters so that they don't kind of step on someone's toes or get in hot water, not realize it?
For me, I'm not really offended by anything at this point. We get a lot of people who are just like, I want this, and it's like, well, okay, we're going to make that happen for you.
Okay.
But in terms of etiquette, I would say one thing, if you're asking for renting like a number of pieces, right? So you pick like 10 pieces or 5 pieces or whatever. And then the day before, if you say, oh, we're only going to need 1 piece, that can affect our relationship a little bit with the artist, because on the back end, I know clients may change their mind at the last minute, and sometimes that's unavoidable. But if it happens over time, like there's a bunch of requests and then there's only like 1 or 2 taken, we do request a lot of that work from the studios with the artists. So if they are bringing in a lot of work and then I'm saying, oh, it didn't happen for this project a few times, then that can erode kind of the confidence of the artist us with the artist, that relationship of maybe I shouldn't continue this program anymore, basically.
And then same thing with
Yeah.
like commissions and sales, like making sure that they're going directly to you, versus like trying to contact the artist on Instagram or something like that and, get a piece
Yeah,
in that way.
that would definitely be good etiquette. Yeah. So if you found an artist through a gallery or a particular platform, then we always ask that you honor that first initial point of contact, because that does matter. There's multiple galleries that could show the same person. And if you say, well, I first saw you here, then it's really, that's how the galleries make a living and sustain their businesses, to have that connection, that relationship. So there are certain times that artists will have an exclusivity period with galleries or spaces, so that there's at least a chance that there's not a lot of overlap. And that's what exclusivity kind of plays in with that relationship with a gallery and an artist. But yeah, in terms of referrals, just kind of keep that really open and say, look, I found you through this gallery. I'm messaging you on Instagram. I'd like to kind of know, because if the artist never knew that they were discovered first through the gallery, then they wouldn't continue that relationship. So first point of contact, basically.
Cool. Awesome. I love it. So Stefanie's going into the end of the year. Have you already scheduled what you're doing for next year? Do you have an idea of what's happening coming into this new year?
Yes, we do. The dates are not 100% solidified. We tend to align our exhibition openings with a few things. The Padres calendar downtown, which makes parking very difficult, and the convention center attendance and the conferences going on, because we will be available for event rentals during those times. So we want to leave those kind of available for our event renters. So there's a lot of planning that goes into it. There's also a lot of downtown events like the zombie crawl around Halloween and things like that. So we're just kind of, we really go through it. We try our best, and occasionally the Padres will flip an extra day in there. But Spot Hero's been really good for us. We also encourage people to use the free ride everywhere downtown, which is kind of like a pro tip for going back and forth between Little Italy and downtown San Diego. If you're visiting or you're local, you may not know about that. It's through the Circuit app.
Okay, I did not know.
Download the Circuit, and then you can select the free ride everywhere downtown. It's called the Fred. There are these kind of little open cars that you drive around in. It's got Fred on the sides, but it will take you up to Little Italy and downtown as well. So we recommend that to people who are visiting and they don't want to get a bunch of Ubers, things like that. So you could park farther away and then just kind of do those free rides around downtown.
Yeah, amazing. Well, is there anything else that we should know about Sparks Gallery and what you're doing? And
so I just encourage everybody to come into the gallery in person to see the work, because it's so much different than online. We do our best, but all the available pieces that we have are on our website.
Okay.
Which is unusual for galleries to do, but I wanted to make sure this was a priority for us, so people anywhere can access the work. So if you, are not local, if you're like more than an hour away, you can still check in and not have a problem. But you could send clients there knowing generally what the work is going to look like, and we take a lot of time to make sure that our color balancing is really optimal to make it very similar to what's in real life.
Right.
And then designers that are nationwide, anywhere in the U.S. So they'll also find us on First Dibs and Cherish, and they would receive their trade discount through there as well. And so if you're not local, I encourage you to potentially use First Dibs and Cherish, because their shipping is it's negotiated bulk discount shipping for UPS, and shipping individually with our shippers will cost more than that pre-negotiated rate. So that's kind of another tip for if you're not local, to check us out on First Dibs and Cherish.
Nice. Do you do a lot of work with designers that are not here in San Diego?
Yeah, we do. So they'll find us on those platforms, and then we'll work with them to just make sure that they get what they need for their client.
That's amazing. I had no idea. What an awesome tip. I love it. Yeah, we have a lot of designers in our membership that are not here locally. but want to have access to beautiful work. So that's very cool. I love it. On like Cherish or First Dibs, is there a way to just look at like what you have to offer? Like, is there a tab or a link?
I'm not sure that you can do that on First Dibs.
Okay.
But if you are on our website, you can look for the artist name that we carry. Our represented artists are exclusively represented in Southern California. So we have, I believe, 5 at this point. They're at the top of our artist page. So you could just Google their name really quick.
Okay.
And, I'm sure we would come up.
Yeah.
And then Cherish, I think there might be a way to find a specific gallery, but again, the search for that represented artist would really just take you there quickly.
Yeah, amazing. Sweet. And I know you have little ones, you've got the gallery. How do you stay grounded? How do you stay centered? What does that practice look like for you?
Yes. I think a lot of us were in survival mindset during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm sort of speaking generally, but we feel maybe like we want to make up for lost time now. And personally, I need to slow down and remember it's not necessarily lost time. It's just that I need to take care of myself both physically and mentally. So that's one of the best grounding and centering activities that I can do to fuel my personal and professional goals. Everything's interconnected. So if one thing is off, then I feel it elsewhere. I'm sure that's speaking to others that feel the same
I'm
way.
right there with you.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people, I think, innately sense that art is a tool for self-care. So whether they're conscious of it or not.
Right.
So when you're thinking, I need something for this space, I believe it's because your mind is actually craving that energy that comes from having that art in that space.
Oh, so smart. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, I'm always looking at art, appreciating what it can do for the mind, and just really mentally trying to slow myself down and say, I'm not trying to catch up. I'm trying to be in the present moment and really just have those experiences more, and absorb the art and the beauty and the purpose of the art.
Yeah, that's you're speaking right at me. I felt like this week, especially yesterday, was just so chaotic and just like on the go and run. And they're just like mistakes were happening or things were slipping through the cracks. And it's just like, oh my goodness, it's because there's no pause, right? It's just like, yeah. And I think you're so right about the selection of the art too, like being in a space, and it as a designer innately, people know it too, just human nature, that when something is missing, they are craving that feeling of whatever is missing can give to them, if it's that grounding notion or calmness, or even like what you said before, like being invigorated and wanting to feel alive and to wake up. There's just so many things that art does, and you're so right about it being a self-care tool for mental health, like having original art in our spaces that vibrate at a certain vibration because of the artist's intention and who they are, and the symbolism that goes in it. I mean, our subconscious, that's how it communicates, right? It communicates with these symbols, whether or not we know it, and the color and everything else.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't wait for all of us to experience the building, Stefanie's art, get to know you more. How can people find you? How can we follow you? How can we be in the know of all the openings and events that you host?
Yeah, so online at sparksgallery.com, and our newsletter sign up is at the very bottom of the page.
Okay.
You can also email me anytime, and
cool.
I can, if you can't find the links or anything, Sonya at sparksgallery.com, SONYA. And we're also on Instagram at Sparks Gallery, no space in between, and Facebook. Just search for Sparks Gallery on Facebook and we're there.
Easy.
And we do have a YouTube channel. We put some videos out occasionally for walkthroughs of the space.
Oh, cool.
And artist conversations.
Amazing. And Sonya is one of our members at Design Coven, so you also have access to Sonya there if you need anything. And like I said, we'll be coming and visiting and all the things. Amazing. Thank you, Sonya, so much for spending time. I know you're busy and there's so many things happening, but really appreciate you sharing what you're doing. And I had no idea about all the support you're doing for artists. I think that's insane and wonderful and beautiful.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I also want to say I appreciate what you're doing to create such a rich community of resources for the interior design community. And thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You've been listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business podcast. If it's one that you have been enjoying, please share with anyone else that you think can benefit from this knowledge, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps us get seen and found by other new and aspiring interior designers. And if you're looking for mentorship, I invite you to join our club here at the Design Coven. It's a bridge between school and real life interior design. We get in much deeper there. We have virtual and in-person events, so everyone is welcome. You don't need to have a design degree to be part of it, just an interest in holistic interior design. I also want to thank our editor, Marcy Ferry, and lastly, Kinseth Thibodeau, who is our music composer. Until next time, be well, and we will see each other soon.